Hey guys, Bowson Ramos. And this past Monday night, the Dolphins suffered yet another loss. Their third of the season, dropping this Monday night game against the Tennessee Titans 31-12. And it wasn't really close at all. Pretty much after halftime, it was not a close game. And, this is not good football that you're seeing from the Miami Dolphins, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, I would like to give them some passes just because just the fact that the offense is just literally on and off the field and within like that. So defense gets bits of slides from me. Obviously, allowing 31 points is not optimal, but given the circumstance that let's talk about it. Time of possession: 34 minutes 52 seconds for the Titans, 25 minutes and 8 seconds for the Miami Dolphins. It's just a piss poor performance on the offensive side of the ball. Lack of preparation, lack of execution, and the play calling isn't great. The execution of these plays aren't great. Things are looking very, very south for this Miami Dolphins team, and if they don't pull up the front of this plane, it's going to go down and it's going to crash and burn. And not looking good. All right, so enough of that. Let's get into the post game review. All right, so let's talk about some yardage. Let's talk about some team stats. That's first and foremost what we're going to do. Total yards, Dolphins had 184 yards of offense. The Tennessee Titans, 244. The Titans weren't being world beaters, but they played a hell of a lot better than us. Both teams forced or had a turnover, and Dolphins had 13 first downs to the Titans 16. Not so great. Dolphins averaged 3.4 yards per play, which didn't really seem that much. In the first half, they had 77 yards of total offense. They got about 107 in the second half, but you're not going to win a game putting 100 or less yards of offense in either half, So just not a great performance by my Dolphins at all. Let's see what we can talk about here. Red zone. The Titans were 2 of 3 in the red zone. The Dolphins were 1 of 1. So they did get their lonesome touchdown when they actually got into the red zone, but you couldn't get this ball past midfield. It was just not happening. Penalties. The Titans had 8 penalties for 69 yards. The Dolphins had 10 penalties for 98. And so I want to go over. Before I go over the box score or anything, I'm gonna talk maybe about the keys to victory and what wasn't accomplished. So first and foremost, it was to run the ball efficiently. Didn't happen. They did have 100 yards on the ground as a team, but the leading carrier was Tyler Huntley with 40 yards. Not great. When in comparison, you have the Tennessee Titans had 142 on the ground. They weren't doing so well. Literally, their leading carrier was Tony Pollard with 88, but he did have a big 41-yard rush. So take that out of the situation and lower that average a bit. Not so great for Tony Pollard. So the defense was doing well. Passing, both teams didn't barely surpass 100 total yards passing. It was not a great offensive matchup on either side of the ball for either team. But the Dolphins defense did what they needed to do. The Dolphins offense, no show. So speaking of which, let's go and see the highlights. All right, so first drive of the game for the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis throws straight into Emmanuel Ogba's hand/his knees, puts a hand under it, and was able to come up on top of that ball. Great play by Ogba. Glad to see him being able to make plays like that. Definitely like having him back on the team. Awful execution here. Backwards screen pass to Tyreek Hill. Incomplete, a.k.a. backwards pass, live ball. Tennessee Titans come up on top of it. They challenged it and ended up winning the challenge. So kudos to the Titans for making such a crucial decision there. Later, following that, Will Levis trying to dive for the first down, landed awkwardly on his right shoulder. He would not return to the game. You see him here kind of trying to test it out, see how it is. Slight discomfort there. had some medical staff checking him out. He ended up going into the blue tent and getting further evaluation. He did not get ruled out of the game, but he was listed as questionable for the remainder of the game. Here, just awful blocking. I understand Austin Jackson had to pick up his block there, but let a good pass rusher for Titans Harold Landry scot free. How about Storm Duck here? Blowing up a screen play. Love to see that. Dolphins, 4th down and 1. What do? We hand off a ball to Tyreek Hill. Doesn't even make it back to the line of scrimmage. The following Dolphins offensive drive. Big deep ball targeted for Tyreek Hill off the helmet of a Titans defender. Almost caught by Snead. Up Jalen Phillips, man. Love to see him out there. Unfortunately, we'll see very soon. He did end up leaving this game, but we'll get to that when we can. And then a nice little tumble. Oh, no. Love to see that out of Jalen Phillips. And that was a big time play on 3rd down. And then, just things couldn't get bad to worse for this Dolphins team. A missed snap. McDaniels is not liking it. Obviously, the execution is not there for this Dolphins team, and it's very frustrating. And then big ups to Jordan Brooks here, getting a big time sack, stopping the drive. But the following Tennessee Titans drive, here we go. We get Jalen Phillips all the way there on the left, hobbling, ends up going to the locker room. He did not return to the game. It's very unfortunate. It was very sad to see him walk into that tunnel. Luckily my seats have a good vantage point of players heading in and out of the locker room, and seeing him go in the locker room was not fun. And we finally have our first touchdown of the game. Tajay Spears on a wildcat type play. Fakes the handoff to Pollard. Sealer bites, and he's in the end zone for 6. Big missed opportunity for the Dolphins here. Tyreek was wide open, overthrown by Huntley, and Tyreek's frustrated. And then 4th and 1, running the ball out of shotgun, and instead of going inside, let's go side to side. This is just something that's just the offense is just ass backwards. What are we doing? We're not making the right play calls. We're not making the right decisions. And that's something that I'm pretty sure Tyreek is yelling about in McDaniel's ear. Tyler Huntley gets the lone some touchdown for the Dolphins, and then the following Dolphins drive gets a intentional grounding safety, and that would pretty much seal the game. There was a end of the game touchdown by Tony Pollard here, but that pretty much wraps up this highlight. It was not in any way, shape, or form a good day for the Miami Dolphins. It was actually very sad, disappointing, and you wish you didn't have to see any of that, but I did with my own 2 eyes in person, and it was very, very frustrating. You want this Dolphins team to have as much success as possible. Given the circumstance, Tua's out for the foreseeable future, him being on IR, stuff like that, but it doesn't excuse the performances that we've been getting out of this Dolphins offense. A lot of people have been critiquing the offense in the offseason and in years past. Give these guys Waddle and Hill. Well, I'm not comparing apples to oranges here with the Dolphins quarterbacks starting backup quarterbacks right now, but it's a system and it's the play calling. It's not efficient right now, and they need to make it as simple as possible for these guys coming in, and they're not doing that. And it's really, really frustrating as a fan seeing this team drastically underperform. I get it. It's a tough position to be in. You go heading into the season expecting Tua to be the guy for the whole season, and then he's unfortunately injured with the concussion. There's not much you can do about that. But it doesn't change the fact that you need to adjust. There are coaches in similar or even worse positions than the Miami Dolphins. For example, like Sam Darnold going to the year and ends up being the starting quarterback 4-0. Steichen loses Anthony Richardson early in the game. Joe Flacco comes in, gets him a win against a tough Pittsburgh Steelers team. There's plenty of situations across the NFL where teams are able to perform even with their backup quarterback, and somehow, some way, the Dolphins are not. Mike McDaniel is 1-6 with Tua without Tua being the starting quarterback. I guess that's what you kind of get when you get a coach that was primarily dedicated to getting the most out of your quarterback, fine, but you should, if you're such a great offensive mastermind, guru, whatever you want to call him, you can't be having these type of performances. There needs to be something working below, and just something needs to be done. Don't know exactly what needs to be done, but what I do know is the Dolphins need to be averaging more than 11 points per game this season. The Dolphins haven't led for a single second this season. Their lonesome win in Week 1 was a game-winning field goal as time expired. Dolphins have not led at any single point in any of these first 4 games. It's off to a horrible start. Awful. We're going to get into some stats really quick. So we have Mason Rudolph, who was a leading passer for the Tennessee Titans. He went 9 of 17, 85 total yards, was sacked once for a loss of 8 yards. We have Will Levis, who left the game early. He went 3 of 4, 25 yards and an interception. Tyler Huntley went 14 of 22 for the Dolphins with 96 total yards, sacked twice for a loss of 18 yards. All right, rushing for the Titans. Pollard, 22 carries, 88 total yards. Spears, 15 carries, 39 yards. Both of these guys had touchdowns. Even Calvin Ridley got a 10-yard run-in. Will Levis had 2 runs for 5 yards. For the Miami Dolphins, Tyler Huntley, 8 carries, 40 yards, 1 touchdown, longest of 20. Jalen Wright, 9 carries, 32 yards, longest of 20. Tyreek Hill, 3 carries for 19 yards, and H.N. 10 carries for 15. H.N. was just looked banged up and just wasn't doing much. Receiving, the Titans' leading receiver was DeAndre Hopkins, 2 receptions, 31 yards. Same thing for Tyler Boyd, Tony Pollard, 2 receptions, 20 yards. Treylon Burks, 1 reception, 13. Calvin Ridley, 1 reception, 5. Same thing for Josh Weil and Chig Okwanu. For the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Waddle was the leading receiver, 4 receptions, 36 total yards, longest of 18. Tyreek Hill, 4 receptions, 23 yards off of 7 targets. Tanner Connor, 2 receptions, 15 yards. Devon Achane, 3 receptions, 14. Zeke Washington, 1 reception for 8. Jonnu Smith and Jalen Wright were both targeted once, but to no avail. There is a accredited fumble for Tyler Huntley, which he lost and was recovered by Arden Key. Defensive stats. Kenneth Murray Jr. Had 9 total tackles, 6 solo, and 1 tackle for a loss for the Tennessee Titans. Right behind them was Sebastian Joseph Day with 6 total, 3 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Then we have Trevon J. Sweat with 2 tackles for a loss. Amani Hooker with a pass deflection. And Harold Landry with a sack, tackle for a loss, 2 QB hits. And Arden Key with a tackle for a loss and a QB hit. Not crazy defensive performance from the Titans. It was literally just the offense being god-awful for the Miami Dolphins. For the Dolphins, leading tackler was Jordan Brooks with 13 total tackles, 9 solo. He had a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, pass deflection, and 1 QB hit. Next up was Anthony Walker, 9 total, 3 solo. And then some key stats. We have Manuel Ogbah with a tackle for a loss, pass deflection, and QB hit. Calais Campbell with a tackle for a loss. Zach Sealer with a QB hit. Storm Duck with a tackle for a loss and a pass deflection. Quentin Bell and Deshaun Hand with a tackle for a loss. Jalen Phillips with a pass deflection. And that's about it in terms of key defensive stats. You got to add in that interception for Emmanuel Ogbah for no gain. Treylon Burks had a kick return for 21 total yards. Jaquan Jackson had 3 total punt returns for 40, longest of 17. Braxton Berrios had 1 return for 27 yards. Contemplating adding that into the highlight, but nothing came of it. Nick Folk went 5 for 5 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. Jace Sanders went 2 for 2 on field goals and did not kick an extra point because the Dolphins only had 1 touchdown, and went for 2 on it, and they threw an interception on that. Yay! Tennessee punting. Ryan Stonehouse, 5 punts, 209 total yards, 1 touchback, 2 of which went to 20, longest of 64. And then Jake Bailey, 5 total punts, 238 yards, and then the longest was 57. He did not have a touchback, and he did not have any in the 20. So, going through all that, it just wasn't great offense for the Miami Dolphins. Too many penalties, too many illegal shifts. Just all in all, it was a god awful offensive performance. The defense did pretty well. Did they allow points? 100%. They were on the field 10 more minutes than the offense. You're going to get gassed out. You're going to get burnt out going on and off the field, staying on the field for a long time. And then you come off the field, boom, you're back on the field again. So anyone who wants to critique the defense, don't bother. Aside from that, there needs to be better ideology moving forward. There needs to be better play calling. There needs to be better execution. There's so many things that need to be worked on for this Dolphins team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. There are some question marks somewhere, maybe around on the defense, but it's hard to judge a team when the defense is on the field at all times, pretty much. So very frustrating as a fan, as a spectator. You know, you want this Miami Dolphins team to do well, succeed, etc., and they're not doing it. And you know, definitely hurts. Definitely hurts that Tua's not in there, but that can't be the only reason. There needs to be some form of execution that needs to be met with a certain standard, and right now that's not happening. So, in terms of standings, the Dolphins are dead last in the AFC East, 1-3, tied with the New England Patriots. The top of the division is the Buffalo Bills at 3-1. New York Jets 2-2 after suffering a heartbreaker loss to the Denver Broncos. And then for the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars are now the worst team in the AFC South at 0-4. Just above them is the Tennessee Titans 1-3, and then the Indianapolis Colts 2-2, Houston 3-1. So interesting way of things are shaping out through the first basically quarter of the season, first 4 games of the season. No, the road's not going to get any easier for the Dolphins. This was probably one of their easiest opponents. Opponent that, you know, given these situations, you still had a chance to win this game. You didn't. You know, the Titans were handing the Dolphins the game left and right. Oh, here's the ball. To no avail. It was honestly really, really bad. That pretty much wraps up the post-game review. Vlog will be coming out soon. It's not going to be a happy-go-lucky vlog. It's going to be a pretty sad one with the Dolphins just performing the way they are. It was tough. I was trying to make the best of the situation, but it was just a rough viewing. That pretty much wraps it up. We'll be interested to see what happens next week against the Patriots. That game kicks off at 1 p.m. and it'll be on Fox. But yeah, I'll have more on that when that game comes around for the game preview. So if you guys made it to this point, thank you for watching. We'll catch you next one. Peace.